Time now for Four Things First, a collection of stuff we liked from last night. Nick, you're up first, buddy.
Rockets complete the perfect first round for me. They added bonus. They also won in 7, as I predicted. If you want to keep your playoff bracket perfect, we can show you what I've got in round 2. Now, the Bucks are making me feel a little nervous about having them go all the way to the finals. It looks like they might not get out of round number 2. But the Celtics feel great about, Lakers feel great about, and the Nuggets, that's the big upset special. I think Fox Bet's got them at 10-1 to win the series, so jump on that now. Go ahead, Kevin Wildes.
So last night, there was a little bit of a paperwork miscue in the league office because Marcus Smart was fined for this heady play against the Raptors. He was fined $5,000 for this. I don't know if it was just a misjuxtaposition that maybe Siakam should have been fined for throwing Marcus Smart. And this is not the first time that Marcus has been erroneously fined. He was also fined for this, even though Kyle Korver picked him up and threw him to the stanchion. So, again, league office, button it up. I think there's been some errors, and Marcus Smart has unfortunately been the victim of them and his pocketbook.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Ooh. Hey, listen, anytime GM Dave Gettleman speaks, I listen because he says the darnest things. Listen to this. He did things that no other rookie quarterback has ever done. What are those things? I'm a Daniel Jones fan. I had the opportunity to catch a ball from him. Eli Manning and the crew went down, and we were able to go through a couple of days of just training. I like the guy. But what has he done, Dave? Dave, stick to watching film and evaluating players. But talking in front of the media is not your thing. Stop it. Yeah, just fumble, right? That's it.
He enjoys it so much. He enjoys it so much. Hey, guys, the New England Patriots are reportedly set to release wide receiver Mohamed Sanu later this afternoon. He spent less than a season in New England. The team gave up a second-round pick for him. He was supposed to be the guy for Tom Brady the way he was the guy for Matt Ryan. So was it him, or could Bill Belichick possibly have a little question mark when it comes to the wide receiver position on this team? The guys he's brought in, the guys, the free agents, you know the ones he's whiffed on, the Chad Johnsons, Demaryius Thomas, Antonio Browns. He did hit on Randy Moss, but that was the lone one. But what about the rookies? What about guys like N'Keal Harry and Malcolm Mitchell and Braxton Berrios? How about this? Since 2010, Bill Belichick has drafted 9 different wide receivers. Those 9 players have combined for 1,500 receiving yards in their NFL careers combined. Bill Belichick's a genius. We all know it, except maybe if you carve out one little area. And N'Keal Harry as his pass catchers. We'll see how he does. All right, we're moving on. The love story in Green Bay. I love a good love story. Aaron Rodgers has every reason to be mildly put off after the Packers drafted Jordan Love in the first round. But Rodgers has been anything but, according to those close to him, Aaron himself saying, quote, "Part of your legacy is how you treat your teammates. I want Jordan to have as great of memories as possible of me being in the quarterback room and having some great laughs and competing. I want kinship, not animosity. That's what I've always tried to do with all my backups." All right, Brandon, you think Aaron Rodgers should feel an obligation to mentor Jordan Love? We all know he wasn't exactly mentored by Brett Favre when Rodgers came into the league.
Absolutely. This is the standard. This is the locker room. I mean, 13 years in the NFL, 5 different teams. I think there was one guy in Denver that I realized didn't want no part in helping any young guy develop. But for the most part, this is what we see. We're seeing this with Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua in Miami. Josh McCown. I mean, this is what you're supposed to do, right? So when you look at this situation, I would even ask, like, why aren't more guys actually doing the opposite? Right? You got to think about this. We're putting Mercedes in a room. We're putting BMW in a room, and we're saying, hey, guys, let's trade secrets so we can then compete against each other, take each other's jobs. Like, it doesn't make much sense, but I'm not surprised that Aaron Rodgers is taking this approach because this is the standard in the locker room. We take care of each other. We know every single year that they're going to draft a guy. They may sign a guy up in free agent, and we know they're trying to take our spot. But what do? We continue to help the younger guys develop because that is the way.
Well, and
go ahead, Wildes.
What I would wonder here is Brandon's point that it is curious that guys are so apt to do this when you know these guys ultimately job, I think is a really good one. I think it does speak to maybe the kind of camaraderie of the locker room and the general nature of athletes, which is I'm going to try to help the guys behind me, but always believe they will always be behind me because I will always be better than them. But Wilds, the thing with Rodgers that makes this a little different is this guy's a first-round pick at the one spot on the field where there's only one player. So, like, he can help Love as much as he wants, and he's a good guy, so I expect him to do that. But eventually, he knows that's because the Packers want Jordan Love to replace him certainly far earlier, Wilds, than Aaron Rodgers expects to be done playing football.
Yeah, Brandon, I don't totally get it. Like, I understand you're not going to be mean to Jordan Love, but at what point your job actually might be to help me? Like, all of Tom Brady, like, he liked having Brian Hoyer around because I think Brian Hoyer was an asset to Brady. So at what point working in the quarterback's room, be like, you know what? I've spent enough time with you. I need to lock in on myself here.
I think that is the formula. I think that's the process for each guy on a team and in every position. You have to have a mentee. You see this every single day on the practice field, a guy pouring into a younger guy. It's good for them. And then also it's good for Love. Like, Love is going to be in position for the next year, possibly 2 years, maybe even 3 years to sit back and learn from one of the greatest to ever do it. I think this is part of the process. And I don't know, I've never really thought about why the culture is that way, but it's just innate in guys just to pour into anybody that comes in that locker room, even the guys that's drafted to take your position.
Brandon, I'm not going to make you say the guy on the Broncos who, gave you the stiff arm. I think I know who it is, Rod Smith. But regardless, I am curious.
No,
who?
Rod Smith was great.
All right, well, so that leads me to the question. Early in your career, who were the guys who helped you? And later in your career, who are some of the guys that you look at that are still playing that you're like, man, I helped him get to where he is?
Yeah, Rod Smith is that guy. Rod Smith showed me the way. The very first day I stepped foot on campus, Rod picked me up, and he said, hey, you're going with me. He took me to Al Wilson's house, and he showed me the ropes. And one of the very first things he taught me was, look, don't try to keep up with Champ Bailey. Don't try to keep up with John Lynch. Keep your money in your pocket. I'm also going to show you how to be a pro. Rod Smith was beside me every step of the way. And I took that, and then I did well with that because I said, okay, if this is what Rod did for me, then I'm going to do this for other guys. So my goal every offseason was to bring in my receivers, the guys on my team, to try to help them develop and learn the things that I learned the hard way or through great leadership like Rod. So Alshon Jeffrey was the guy. He didn't know how to take care of his body. Alshon didn't know how to be the ultimate pro. He had to figure that out. And we sat down for an offseason. Every single day we went through that. And through that offseason, what we were able to accomplish was some amazing things. But the outcome was Alshon Jeffrey being a Pro Bowl. So from a selfish perspective, I was actually proud because now you have to double team, you have to double cover Alshon Jeffrey. You can't just double me because if you do that, then I have a guy on the other side that can beat you himself. So I think it's important selfishly to help develop guys, but also for the team. It's just part of our innate ability to just be able to help these guys that's coming in and trying to find their way.
I did that with Nick the whole summer before the Packers this season.
He looks good.
Namely, the future. Yeah, he does, even though he looked like before. The future of Aaron Rodgers, I mean, that's really the bigger story. However they get along, these two quarterbacks right now, it's going to be where does this leave Aaron Rodgers? Do you think, Nick, that this could be the last season his Packers, if somehow this team falls short of a Super Bowl?
Yes. Could it be? Absolutely. 100% it could be. I'm not going to go out and say it will be. Now, I would be surprised if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback of this team in 3 years. You don't draft a player in the first round to not play him. But it's on the board
the Packers
that
did.
This is his last year. Well, I don't know if they did, Brandon. They maybe drafted a player to not play him this year, and this is why.
But isn't it the same story?
So different.
It's the same story we saw years ago with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. Aaron sat for how many years? So we can say
3
that
years,
the Packers.
But it's a different. So a couple things have changed since then, and the circumstances are a little different. They drafted Aaron when they were coming off a bad season, when Aaron fell further in the draft than they could have ever expected, and when Favre regularly flirted They drafted Jordan Love when they're coming off a 13-3 year where they trade up to get him. And not only has Rodgers never flirted with retirement, he has said, I want to play. They just signed to a contract extension that he wants to play till he's 40 years old. And so unlike with you and Rod Smith or you and Alshon Jeffrey, you guys can be on the field at the same time. And the Packers, I think a lot of the smart analytics expect the Packers to take a couple steps back this year. I don't know if I buy into that fully, but if they do, I do think it is absolutely on the board that this could be Rodgers' last year. And no matter how they do, anything short of a Super Bowl in the next 2 years, I think they are preparing to move on from Rodgers and to move forward with Jordan Love after 2 years.
They need
maximum,
to move on from themselves.
Not the 3 years Rodgers set. Go ahead.
They need to move on from themselves because the only thing that stood in the way from them winning multiple championships has been their defense. It has been their decision-making on free agency. So it's not Aaron Rodgers' fault. This is, I mean, just a couple years ago, we were saying he's going to go down as the best quarterback to ever play the game. That's what we were saying, right? He was just lights out week in and week out. So, Wiles, I don't know how you feel about this, but for me, I think this is a good move. I think this is the Packer way now. And it's like they're lucky, right? Because they went from one generational player to another generational player, from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, and now they're trying to strike for another time. So I think this is a great move, and I think this kid's going to sit for at least 2 years.
2 years. Okay. If he sits for 2 years, and I think Rodgers looks around and says, you know what? Win a Super Bowl, even though they went 13-3 last year. So not super far away, but I just feel like they feel far away. So if he doesn't win a Super Bowl, I still think it's a great career, and he can start looking elsewhere.
Anything can happen with this guy.
Back to our top story now. James Harden's incredible defensive stop last night. When was the last time we said that? I'm going to say it again. Stop. First things first. Back